Right. Jen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
No problem. So you do, in my preparation for this and figuring out more about you, right, as just a bit more than your average surface level stuff, you do a lot of things. You're doing things all the time. It's crazy to see.
Yeah, I guess I do a lot of things.
Oh, it's incredible. I'm like, man, there's this infectious energy you have when talking to you that I gravitate towards. I'm like, oh, she's doing so many things. This is so cool. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So, take us through kind of what your transition was like, kind of leaving high school and beginning of post-secondary era of your life to kind of where we are now after just turning 40.
Just turning.
If you're okay with sharing that.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's 21 years in a nutshell. Yeah, when I left high school, I was in the time where we still had grade 13. Mm-hmm. So OAC. So I was 18 and I wanted to get out of town.
Yeah.
So I applied to Ottawa and I got in. I went to Algonquin College and I was 18 years old. Couldn't participate in any frosh or anything like that. So didn't really make a whole lot of friends that first year and kind of just, did the best that I could. The second year was a bit better. First year I took business admin. Second year I jumped into public relations, which was a bit more of a tight-knit group. So I was able to make friends, and I was 19, so I was able to participate in things at that point. Yeah.
That's the fun part.
Yeah. The one bonus of going to Ottawa is we had Quebec right there.
That's what I thought too. Yeah.
But it was kind of the bars were just seedy.
They're bad.
Yeah, older men trying to pick up younger women.
It's bad.
And,
you feel awkward.
I did it a couple times, but then I was like, I'm just gonna wait.
I did enough to experience it. And there's no sense searching.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, that was a big transition for me because high school, I was super involved in everything. I played sports. I was on, athletic council, students council. I was just, involved.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I moved away and didn't really have any friends and kind of, struggled a little bit to make friends right at the beginning because I hadn't exercised that muscle in a while.
Right.
So, but then everything kind of came together the next few years. And I found myself in an office job after school and I was just climbing the walls. I was so bored. I was working in a cubicle at an insurance company, just bored out of my mind. And so I decided to shake up my life. I saved up for a year, and then I went backpacking through Australia. Sold all my stuff, broke up with my boyfriend, had a backpack and then a tote that I moved to my mom's house, and just took off.
You just left it all there.
I had to. I was
crazy.
So bored, and I was like, "This isn't me. This isn't me."
Yeah.
And I remember being in that cubicle, watching those people come in and out of their job. And I'm like, they've been doing this every day, minus whatever vacation time for 25, 30 years, some of them. I was like, this isn't me.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was like, I just need to put some experiences under my belt, and then I'd be able to sit here in a cubicle. Then I would be content. That whole
don't want to miss
convince yourself or whatever. That's when I could be. Then I could be bored. But that shook up my life big time. So traveled Australia for a year on a working holiday visa. Yeah. Worked 7 out of the 12 months and just had an amazing time. Oh my God. Wow. It was so fun. It's Australia is amazing. It's such a safe place to go. Yes, English speaking, set up for backpackers. It was just really easy.
That's super cool.
Open my mind. Well, you travel lots. Open my mind.
Never been to Australia though.
No.
My best friend currently he's currently doing exactly what you're saying you did.
Oh, cool.
He's doing that right now, and so every couple of days he'll tell me, he's like, man, he's 29 degrees over there. I'm like, dude, it's November. Come on.
It's so hot. What was I really missed fresh water because it was the air was so hot.
Yeah.
And then you go in the ocean thinking it's going to be relief, but it was like bath water. It was so bizarre. Going in, it was still warm. It was like there's little relief. And in backpacker hostels and stuff, there's no air conditioning. So,
no.
But whatever, bikinis and shorts and like sweat and tanning, and it was fun. It was a fun year.
Wow.
It really opened my mind.
Yeah, I bet.
That life was bigger than
like
Sudbury,
6x6
Ontario.
cubicle.
Yeah, cubicle. Like life was bigger, opened me up to perspectives. Listened to a lot of people's stories and how they lived and
was
how
there
they
one
chose
that
to live.
like stuck out to you? Did you remember? I know it was a while ago.
It was a while ago. You know, just different cultures. Like we met these guys from Sweden. And they actually got paid to go to school. So what they did was saved up all their money from high school that they got paid to go to school. Yeah. And then they went backpacking. And they didn't have to save it up for university because their university was also not a cost to them either. What? So I was just like, wow, like what a financial burden we're put under at such a young age.
I wish.
And it was really like, I remember when I went to school and got OSAP, you know, and it's just, I didn't know what I was going to do. And it's like, it's such an expensive, like, crapshoot, you know? It's like, so I mean, I try not to look back and I wish or anything like that. Absolutely, because puts me here where I am right now, but it's like that gap year, if you don't know what you're going to do, that gap year, because how at 17, 18 do you decide what you're going to do for your career for the rest of your life?
The concept always seems silly to me, which is why I enjoy doing the show.
I
do,
to find out that I didn't, this is a really great show to have because it never occurred to me that there were other options to do after high school. I was like, oh, everybody was going to school. I guess I'll just walk that line, you know? So I think, though, like, seeing other people's choices really opened my eyes that kind of the sky's the limit. So then I landed back here in Sudbury. This is where my parents were. And I didn't want to go back and work for an insurance company. And I was like, what am I passionate about? What am I interested in? And the things that I would research and look up and you know, want to learn more about was always fitness and wellness and diet and exercise, partially because, you know, as women, and I'm sure men have the same thing, we're always trying to lose weight and look our perfect selves and that sort of thing.
100%,
But then I was like, well, no, I am actually interested in this. You know, I was an athlete in high school, and so then I started to look at different ways that I could get into the fitness industry. I got a job serving. I met a guy he was a bartender at the restaurant I was working at, and he was just starting up a jiu-jitsu school in town. It was the first jiu-jitsu school in town, and he had come from Ottawa with his jiu-jitsu experience, and he was a martial artist from when he was like 12 years old. And we started dating, and I was like, I'm going to help you, you know, with your business. And, you know, no martial arts experience. So at first I started helping him with marketing, and, you know, I had a bit of graphic design skills. And then, you know, at that time, the only people on the mat were men. Big, like, muscular, you know, miner type men. Smallest guy was Steve, and then the next smallest guy was like 180, and then everybody else was over 200 pounds. So he was always like, oh, why don't you train? Why don't you train? Like,
what do you
mean?
God.
Yeah, like, oh my God, this sweaty, you know, crazy, savage room that I would sit, like, at the front desk, just, like, collecting money. Yeah. And then for Christmas that year, he bought me a bright pink gi. It was, like, Kira Gracie's gi.
Yeah. That's sick.
But then, there I was, the only woman in a bright pink gi. The instructor's girlfriend, started training.
That's owning it, though.
Yeah, I just dove in head first and started training, started competing. And I was super inspired with, like, Steve wanting to own his own business. And I wanted to help him, but I wanted something of my own. Nice. So at the same time, I opened a clothing store. That was my first business. It was called One Love Vintage Clothing. And we were just walking down the street one day on Durham Street, and we were walking by this closed store that used to be a vintage clothing store when I was in high school. It was called Killed the Flow.
Oh, cool.
And Steve was like, yeah, when Neil sold that, he offered it to me. And he was like, he offered to me for like $5,000 or whatever. And he's like, but I didn't do it. So I was like, if I was with you at the time, I would have totally done it.
Take my money, yeah.
Yeah, I had $5,000 in the bank, and I was just like, I would totally do that. And then I saw the for rent sign, and I just called. And then he said it was $600 a month. And then from there, it was just like starting my first business. Sometimes I look back and I'm like, where did I get like the balls, the courage?
Yeah, where did you get the courage?
I don't know. I guess like, you know,
that's wild.
That when you're just like younger and more naive, I guess, you just kind of don't let all of those doubts kind of fade or stop you.
Right.
So I called. The rent was $600 a month, and I think I can handle that.
Downtown too.
Downtown. It was an old building.
Yeah.
It was like, but it had some history. So I was like, okay, let's do this, and then just one step after another. So the idea was, while we traveled for jiu-jitsu, I would shop and get kind of interesting finds and treasure hunt and that sort of thing. So we went to a tournament in New York. So right before I opened the store, I went in Manhattan. I went all off on my own and like just treasure hunted to all these different like shops and sales, and it was
sounds like
so
a blast.
fun.
Yeah,
it was. And so I did that. I also invested in it's a company called Bang On. I'm not sure. So they used to have stores in like the market in Ottawa, downtown Toronto.
Yeah.
And it was like you could go in and you could look through catalogs and pick images to press onto t-shirts.
Huh.
So you could like make your own custom t-shirts. Cool. And so I had that in the store. Yeah. And we would print on American Apparel shirts. So this was like the saving grace of my store, was that, but plus at the exact same time was when American Apparel hoodies, you know, the zip-up hoodies with the white string, just like blew up. And everybody wanted those hoodies, and I was the only one in town that had them. Otherwise, you had to go to Toronto or order online. So, like, Sudsec and, like, all the different high schools here in Sudbury, they would come and buy those hoodies. So, it was basically like a hoodie store that kind of kept me, you know, paying the bills for a while before everything else built up. So, I did that, and then I also made Steve's, like, training gear for the club. And so then we decided to get our own location, which was the first location in the Montrose Mall, and I sold the store to a high school friend, and we went into the jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai school full on.
Nice.
I remember our instructor, right before we did that move, our instructor was like, if you guys want to do this for real, come to the Martial Arts Super Show with me in Vegas, and it's like a business seminar for martial arts school owners, and he's like, come to this super show, you know, learn a bunch, like how to run the business, and then take off from there. And I went home. I'm a doer. I went home that night. I booked the flights. I booked our tickets at the show, and then we just kind of rolled into having our own gym. You know, starting that gym, it's a really fun story. Was cool. Steve, this is, I'll credit Steve, this is like one of the best ideas I thought that he had. So right when we got the space, there was a bunch of renovations to do, but about 3 months before was when the big Inco, like our valet strike, happened. So I think it was like the longest strike, and you know, Sudbury was going into a recession because of it, and there was a bunch of guys out of work, bored, probably falling into unhealthy habits, you know, where they're usually productive and that sort of thing. So Steve went to the picket lines and told the guys, come train for free for 3 months or until the strike's over, you know, for as long as you want, just so you guys have some kind of healthy outlet.
Yeah, somewhere to go, something to do,
So a lot of the guys took us up on that offer.
That's awesome, wow.
3 months later, we got this space. We needed a bunch of renos done. we had a bunch of handy, super grateful dudes
Yeah.
there. So those guys helped us build the space. So it was so cool. It was like
really smart idea,
such a team effort. And we didn't, he did it because he wanted to offer that and he thought it was like good marketing, not knowing that it would like pay off after in the renos.
Yeah,
so
wicked handy dudes.
Oh yeah, it cost us like half the price to reno.
Wow.
And so because we did everything on our own, this is not the way to do it, but we didn't get any loans. We put stuff on credit card, like we just like made it happen. We paid it all off, and it was fine in the end. It's not the best way to do it, but you know, it worked. Yeah. And so we built the gym, and then we just went full force and started, you know, running our kids programs. And I wanted to contribute a bit more than just admin work, so I got trained in kettlebell training. Kettlebell is a really great tool for mixed martial arts. So. First time I touched a kettlebell was in my instructor certification program.
Oh, wow.
And just kind of ran with that. Did the strength and conditioning for the athletes. Also taught yoga there and competed myself. And then I had the opportunity for Zen to come up. The owner, so Zen was a yoga studio in town. And the owner, Eddie, was actually picking up and moving to New Zealand. And she liked how Steve and I ran the business. And she wanted us to take over hers. And I went home and thought about it, and I was like, oh, this is for me.
Yeah,
you know?
like this is the me project.
Yeah, exactly. Because as much as I loved martial arts and as much as like I dove in head first and made it into my life, it was Steve's like baby, right? It was like his passion project that I just like, you know,
co-piloting.
Yeah, and I can gain enthusiasm on a number of things, so I just ran with it. But then I was like, this is more like me.
Yeah.
And then
that's it. That's cool.
It was cool timing. It's really challenging to own and run a business with a spouse, especially when we have completely different work ethics. So I was like, okay, this is for me. And then we decided to kind of split our lives too. So we split up. I took the yoga studio and he kept running the jiu-jitsu gym. So it worked out perfectly. And then all of a sudden, I went from, you know, empowering women with self-defense and you know, being strong and all that sort of stuff to this new role at Zen with yoga, but there was a small pole dancing program there. Cool. And it was the only pole dancing studio in town. So I was like right back to where I was with jiu-jitsu. And I was like, okay, you know what? Let's focus on pole dancing. Yeah. So I put more poles in the studio and we just kind of ran with pole dancing. It was such a flip. Because empowering women with self-defense to empowering women with pole dancing and like their sexuality, sensuality.
There's a different stigma to it.
It was, but it was kind of cool. It was like again, another shake-up that I was craving, and it kind of just fell into my path. That's cool. So did that, and so I had Zen. I taught my kettlebell there, hot yoga, had pole dancing there. And then all of a sudden, the Sudbury 5 started up, and Cliff just recommended like me and my studio running the cheer squad. Yeah, Cliff Skeletor, owner of Launchpad Creative, did me a solid, slid my name in there, and I got to run the cheerleading squad. I don't even like the term like fake it till you make it, but I'm just like, and it wasn't, I didn't have to fake anything because I know how to run a team. And I think the most important thing is when you don't have the skill set yourself, you find amazing people that do. So I found some really great choreographers. Nice. We went out and searched and auditioned dancers, and then I was running a cheerleading squad for a professional basketball team. So that was super fun. And so that's what I had been doing for the past 4 years, and then COVID hit. COVID has shaken up everything, and it took some processing and decision making and all that sort of thing. But I decided to close my studio, which I just think was the smartest thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of just like pull back expenses, ride out this wave, and then see what's the next thing that comes on my path.
Right.
I think when you just walk with integrity and, you know, trust, then like my story looking back on it, it's just like things just kind of appear, opportunities kind of appear. So that's how I'm taking this next step too. So just kind of like close down my studio. I teach at Bell Park. It's over now because of the weather. I have a home studio that I do privates, and now I teach virtually. So I teach classes online. So it's kind of fun because I'm a little bit of a homebody, and so I don't have to leave as much, and I think I'm really going to appreciate that in the winter. And so that's where I am now. That was 21 years in a nutshell.
Wow.
Oh, and I have a kid in there too.
Throw that one in. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's probably like the best nutshell I've had somebody give, and like you wrapped it up and like kept it. So that was pretty impressive. But what's a challenge you find? I know you said you're a homebody when it comes to like you have a studio, everything. You don't have to go too far for it. But what's a challenge you find with COVID and like that? Sorry, that COVID's brought to you so far. What's the biggest obstacle?
Well, gathering. We can't gather anymore, and my whole business was gathering. I like to create experiences. So not just class, not just fitness, not just a workout, but create a whole experience. Because when I used to go to yoga classes, like I had this one instructor, Jen Wilson. She's actually in Sudbury.
Oh, cool.
She just like could take me there, you know? She just like gave me an experience, and when I left, I felt stronger. I felt like empowered. I just like something happened in the room, and I left with that sensation. And so that's what, like, you know, in some of my verbiage for my business, it was like, we're not just instructors, we're experienced creators.
I like that,
And it's more of a challenge to create an experience for people when I'm not in there controlling everything, controlling the lights, controlling the sounds, controlling the level of the music, you know, connecting with people.
There's an energy that's not it's not present. Unfortunately.
So the challenges are like, so I encourage my students to just like try to have certain rituals so they can create that space, create that lighting with smell, like essential oils, you know, that sort of thing. And then, you know, I can still broadcast music through Zoom, and so we do our best. But it's the mindset too. We work on the strong mind, and that's the biggest thing. Like I train bodies for sure, but I think more passionately, I trained mindsets, like that mental discipline, mental endurance.
Absolutely.
I mean, that comes from martial arts.
Yeah, the endurance part is definitely something I think is overlooked a lot when it comes to most things. Like you need to have that ability to not just have like a focused learning for like an hour, but after a long day, still be able to have that focused learning and like keep going.
Yeah. Well, because so many people, there's many objections to yoga or training in general, but it's like I can't quiet my mind. And they say it like it's just a fact, right? It's just like, I just have a busy mind. Like that's my identity. And that's not true.
No.
We can do anything we want to.
It's not fixed that way.
No, and it's managing expectations.
Yeah.
Like, people think people that do yoga are present and active and meditating for 1 hour straight. That's not true.
No.
That's not true at all. If you can hold a present focus for 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, it's like all of those little things are win. And the practice is the refocus. So that's anything. Once our distractions come, we notice we're distracted, we refocus back into the moment, which you can, like, that would translate into everything we do in life. So in yoga, that's what we work, is that refocus, so that we're no longer prisoners to a busy mind. Right? And it's like, oh, my mind is busy. It's like, well, yeah, because you don't train it, right? It's like people come, I'm not flexible, so I can't do jiu-jitsu. I'm not flexible, I can't do yoga. It's like, well, stop acting like flexibility and mindfulness are natural attributes. It's like, they take time, they take discipline. And so, yeah. So creating those experiences is a challenge. Yeah. And I think, yeah, connecting with people is a challenge. Yeah. And keeping your spirits high.
Yeah,
right?
no kidding.
Without,
No
this
kidding.
is, I think for my, like, I look at my own journey. I think COVID, and I know I'm not the center of the universe, but I am the center of my own.
Fair.
I think COVID
Fair, yeah.
has been like a big practice in understanding we don't have control. We don't know.
No,
like
right.
we can see our 5-year plan, but anything can happen.
Yeah, no one planned for this.
No, and it's
So-
having that mental flexibility. And so people feeling so out of control, I think
Yeah.
sometimes we let that, you know, keep us down or make us anxious or whatever. But it's like, if we understand we never really have control.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what COVID's showing us, especially, right? Control is an illusion or a delusion. So it's like, I think that
fascinating,
is like living in the moment, because this is what we have and this is what we know. And if we start to spin into the what ifs, we're going to go into a very dark place.
Yeah.
So instead, what do we have here? We have everything. We're comfortable. We got these nice chairs. Got good conversation. What do we have now? Stop rushing to the next moment or living in the past moment. It's like, what's going on right here? So I go through those moments like all the time. My studio's closed. What am I gonna do with the rest of my life? Oh my god, that was my plan. Oh, like I could freak out daily. I could lose my mind.
Absolutely, yeah.
But then, like, again, Cliff has been, like, such a good mindset coach for me as well. Like,
He's a good dude.
Well, it's good. It's good to have, like, mentors like that, because, you know, coaches need coaches. And he helped talk me down and stay in the moment. And also reminded me, like, COVID didn't take any of my skill sets.
Right.
COVID didn't take any of my relationship building skills, you know?
No, I didn't.
And... you know, I've been marketing myself for a very long time. It's like we could take those skills and I could put them in different avenues and that sort of thing and kind of diversify what I'm doing. I don't have to just own a studio. So just been keeping my mind open for next steps and opportunities open. And for now, doing what I love, like training people. I do a lot of kettlebell training, yoga training, but also Muay Thai. We do Muay Thai in my house too. I love teaching beginners Muay Thai. It's so fun. And then I do a bit of jiu-jitsu, like women's self-defense as well when people come to me. So that's fun too. So yeah.
So Jen, what I'm curious about is what strategies, because you touched on women empowerment, and that's not a subject that's not something that I think of I resonate with myself. Whereas that's just not my avenue of a professional or whatever. I'm trying to say is, what strategies do you use or that people can use in their everyday life to empower women? Or even people in general, now that I think about it.
Well, I think, like, what men can do, essentially? Or, like...
Yeah.
Just be respectful.
Fair.
Be nice.
Fair. Yeah.
You know...
Seems simple, yeah.
Well, the more that these kind of topics come up, you know, I watched this movie called Misrepresentation. Have you seen it? It's like Miss M-I-S.
I've heard of it, though.
Yeah.
I should see it.
And as a woman, I watched that, and I was shocked. And it's like... women keep women down, you know, and pop culture keep women down, and it's just so crazy how we turn such a blind eye to so many derogatory comments and you know, silliness and I'm just joking and those types of things. And I realized, and now when I watch like older shows, so I was rewatching Friends.
Yeah.
And those 3 guys in Friends, if the woman was not attractive or they weren't interested in sleeping with her, they had no value. And if you watch that with that eye, they don't care, they roll their eyes, they don't even pay attention. And I was watching it and I'm just like, oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, wow, even saying that I'm like, ooh.
It's true.
Fair.
And then you get...
oh, man.
You get that a lot with, like, women and men dynamic. It's like, if I don't want to pursue you, then you have very little value to me, where men might value a man differently, you know? So it's like, even just knowing that, it's like, you know, women have more value than, you know, just hooking up.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely do.
So I think just little, like, watching shows like that and being aware and understanding that these shows, these movies are part of our cultural conditioning.
Yeah.
And they make jokes, and they make side-handed jokes, like run like a girl, throw like a girl.
Yeah,
oh, like, you know, girls are always dramatic. All they want to do is shop, and, you know, I learned.
That's brutal. Yeah.
I used to think women were dramatic because that's what we're told. Women are dramatic and they're catty, and you know, that's how women are, and men are not. They're mature, and they're, you know.
Yeah, I definitely have some friends who are the opposite of not dramatic.
Right? It's like, well, because we're humans. We're not.
Yeah, it's not.
Gender is just one aspect.
People, yeah.
I think the best humans have a really great balance of masculine and feminine. Yeah. It's like when you can balance those two energies, those are my favorite people.
That's wild, yeah.
But working when I was talking about doing all the renovations with our jiu-jitsu school. Yeah. So that was the first time that I worked with a group full of men. I was the only woman there. And oh my God, there was silent treatments and people talking behind each other's backs and power struggles. And drama, and it was really eye-opening for me. I'm just like, women are not dramatic. People are dramatic.
People are dramatic.
You know, egos are dramatic.
Yeah.
It's not like men are sitting here cool as cucumbers all the time, and like us women are like, just being crazy.
Yeah, no.
That's another one is like, oh, she was crazy. And women can be crazy. Men can be crazy. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But also, like, now I question when a guy was like, yeah, she was crazy. I'm like, so what was your contribution into like making that behavior happen, right? So it's like just kind of breaking down stories and shows and ideas and understanding that gender is just one aspect of us, our complex, you know, beings. Yeah. And so how to empower women? Listen to them. Yeah. You know, understand no is a no. Understand that they have value. They have value. And it's interesting because trying to promote women's self-defense, a lot of times I get pushback. And it's like, why don't we teach men not to rape, right? It's like we want to teach women to be rape-proof, but why don't we teach men the other side? Right. And I believe in both because I'm not trusting anybody with my daughter's safety, you know? No. But also, I find there's this new thing where women, like I've seen a few moms be like, don't worry, I'm going to teach, or my son is going to be somebody that your daughter can be trusted with. You know, like actively putting those messages out there. And I'm just like, oh, I love it. Like that people are actually thinking about that and raising boys that, you know, that we can trust our daughters with rather than raising them with those messages that, you know, women have one value. Right. I remember some people on my jiu-jitsu team, this was a battle in the jiu-jitsu community because there was a lot of, you know, macho, you know, male attitude. And an instructor that I worked with, he was out of town, but I remember him telling one of my staff members and one of one of Steve's students, women are good for two things. Oh no. Yeah, in the bedroom and in the kitchen. Stop. And I remember I went to his instructor the next day and I was like, you know, you're making my job really difficult by telling my staff that I am for two things only, and then I'm going to tell them what, like, they're supposed to listen to me. Gets me anxious, Yeah, and it's just like, come on. And so they actually talked to the guy and did something about it, so that was really cool. Nice. And that's it. It's like women having that voice as well. Yeah. And speaking up for ourselves, asking for what we want. But I think our biggest tool in empowerment, and I think what jiu-jitsu has given me, is the confidence and the posture and the able to like stand up tall and speak speak what I want to speak and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's really helped me along the way, and I credit jiu-jitsu for that.
Yeah, fair.
Oh my God, just training. I mean, the travel that I did and the accomplishments that I had in my life before that definitely helped, but God, just the confidence of it's a
physical thing for sure.
It's like when you start training, you go like this, where you're
it's
just like on top of the world,
yeah,
maybe even borderline cocky, I'm sure.
Borderline, yeah.
Trying to pull everybody with you, be like, you gotta try this. And then you get humbled, especially if you compete. I got humbled on the mat quite a few times. You get humbled, and then you're just at this like really relaxed, confident, you let your presence lead. I had this woman, she used to like, kind of called her like my spiritual guide. She used to do reflexology on my feet, but also
cool.
talk me through a lot of, she was almost like a counselor for me. But she said, because at that point I was leading with this, I would just talk and just listen to my words. And she said, lead with your presence. Don't lead with what you're saying so much. Yeah. And that was probably one of the best pieces of advice that I got. Wow, and I started to lead with my presence. And I actually saw that. So when I was at the jiu-jitsu school, I have leadership qualities. And, it wasn't always welcomed because it was a male-dominated environment. Right, like there would be egos in the way. And so it was like an uphill struggle battle. Plus, I always self-reflect. I might have been still in that heightened, totally acting from my ego, just not really received and hadn't had that really good piece of information yet. Okay. When I went to Zen, I was calmer. I led with my presence. I was more comfortable. Yeah. And the culture that naturally unfolded and developed in that place without being forced, it was so respectful. Everybody was so inclusive. Yeah. And I really embodied that lead with my presence. And I saw it kind of unfold and how it could work and how I could gain respect without barking at people, and how I could gain respect just because of the energy that I brought into the place. Took that same energy into the cheer squad and, those girls just wanted to follow. They wanted to be a part of something. I led them believe that we were a part of something big, and they just wanted to. And it was that piece of advice to lead with my presence and not with my words. And I was like, that's really served me.
Right. Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, Jen, you strike me as a very passion-driven person, right? Now, what advice would you have for people who are maybe having a tough time discovering their passion or what they're passionate about?
Try things. Yeah, try things. For sure. I mean, I think for a long time, I was super shy, especially when I moved to Ottawa. I just didn't know anyone. I was super shy. I wanted to try yoga so bad. And I was too nervous to go into a yoga studio. Early 20s, I just thought, I didn't have the yoga body. I didn't have the right clothes. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't want to look stupid.
Yeah.
Sure. So it took me longer in life to connect with a passion that I had, all because I didn't have the courage to just go and try. Yeah. And I've tried a bunch of things, and I failed at things and looked stupid at things. But I think just going out and trying a bunch of things really, really helps. Also, getting around people who have some passion. Yeah. I mean, it's infectious.
It is very infectious, yeah.
And, a really great piece of advice was getting a coach, finding a coach and finding somebody. This is my first business instructor, before he became my instructor, but he was go find somebody who's doing what you want to be doing and ask them questions and get them to mentor you. See how they did it. See their steps along the way. So finding that kind of coach, that influential person, really, really helped. So, yeah, I guess those would be my advice. Because for so many years, that was why I was climbing the walls at that insurance company. Right. Because I felt passion inside me, but I had no outlet.
No idea where to...
Yeah, no outlet. I wasn't artistic, and, I wasn't musical. It's that's what we think of when we think of passion. And, where can I put all of this energy? It was building up inside of me, and I didn't know what to do. And so I shook up my life and trusted in the path, and it all kind of came out. But like, yeah, it was like being open to different experiences and seeing different ideas and talking to people, hearing people's stories. That's my favorite, is hearing people's stories. Yeah. Ignites passion.
Especially when people are, I find there's a different appreciation that comes with hearing somebody's story when you're out of your element or out of your city or something like that. Whereas whenever I'm anywhere in the world that's not Sudbury, Ontario, other than the show, that's a whole different thing, but it's the appreciation I have for people's stories when I'm traveling is just, my mind is so open to it. And then I find when I come back here, my mind is still, I'm like searching for more of it, but then it seems to be limited. Mm-hmm. So I love stories. Like that's half the drive of this, right?
Yeah.
I just want cool people to come on, just like broaden my horizons with what you've done and what you know.
Yeah.
It's the coolest thing.
Well, it's funny because after Steve and I broke up and I was on my own, I had a lot more free time. I was co-parenting, so I only had my child half time. Yeah. And it was like, I was outside of my little bubble. So for so long, I was just in the bubble of the jiu-jitsu school. And then I was like, what do I do now with this free time? And I'm not in, I don't really have a bubble anymore. So I would start going to coffee shops and just being open. And Old Rock was my spot.
Nice.
And hanging out with the older gentlemen that would go there on a Sunday morning and hearing their stories and just being quiet, letting them talk, and just hearing their experiences, and it's inspiring. And it's even just like, wow, that was the connection, the eye contact, the storytelling, the passing on of knowledge. Yeah. It was real. I think you guys, younger people, and especially people in high school now, I'm sure you watched The Social Dilemma. Yeah. The phones, I'm fortunate. I came from a younger era where I didn't have those phones, and we have this perceived connection through the phones, but it's not real. It's we crave human connection, touch, which is hard with COVID, but eye contact is huge. It's so huge, and our anxiety or shyness or whatever keeps us from searching that sort of stuff out. And now, it's going to be really interesting down the line to look at human studies and stuff, what this is doing to us. Yeah. But it's if we know those things, we're social creatures and we need those social interactions, how can we seek those out? How can we still fill that need? Because, without it, we saw what happened in the first quarantine, right? Isolation, no touch, no hugs, all that connection. And then the problems with the phone is we think we're connecting. We think that we're seeing people. We think that we're interacting. And we're just, it was I saw this meme and it was don't compare your life to the perfect version of somebody else's, right?
Yeah.
And it's just,
well said.
It's just so getting off the phones and having some human interaction really helped me in those times. And then understanding not everything, I'm not best friends with these older gentlemen in an Old Rock, but that doesn't mean that they don't have value and they don't have a story and they don't have something to pass on.
Right, and just because they don't post it doesn't necessarily mean they don't have really cool experiences.
And it's just history too. And it's a practice to shut up and listen. Right? To sit and focus on somebody and be held. That's that same yoga practice, that connection, that presence of mind. So that was super. And coffee shops are still open. Sometimes I bring my laptop. Sometimes I'd bring a book. Sometimes I wouldn't bring anything. And I noticed I'd get into random conversations more when I didn't bring anything. That's cool. You don't have your head down. Yeah. People are more likely to talk. And now I see those guys all over the place. And they talk, we say hi, talk to me, catch up. They kind of keep up with what I'm doing.
That's awesome.
And it's funny. It's sometimes I'm with a friend. They're like, "How do you know those guys?" And it's my Sunday morning coffee shop dudes. I got that from Cliff does the same thing. He just bounces coffee shop to coffee shop, chatting with people, and it fills you up. Especially like working from home too. It's like you work from home, you could stay isolated, maybe bring your work to a coffee shop just to absorb some energy.
I think I want to start implementing that into my, I still, because I work with the construction industry, which is weird, I know that's what I'm doing, but yeah, I've noticed that a lot where that's something I want to do, and I've been searching, I'm searching for it a little bit more now, and then hearing like Cliff talk about it, and like you mentioned that, and I'm like, that's something I got to do. That's something I got to do. That's a really cool idea that I got to start implementing into my, maybe not, I don't know if weekly is something that's, because I do this, like, I really enjoy this. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, I think at least once or twice a month doing that for like hours, because I think your strategy is genius, going in with no phone, no laptop, nothing, and just going, I need something to stimulate my brain.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you don't have your phone on you, you don't have your laptop. It's got to be people.
It's got to be people.
It's got to be people.
Yeah.
So.
And cool. Also pushing that whole, because you see people, some are actually scared of other people, and it's like, I just don't want that to be my norm.
Right.
I also, I subscribe to Masterclass. You heard of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I did Malcolm Gladwell's Masterclass.
I love
and
Malcolm.
Yeah,
He's
and
so
him as a writer would take his laptop into a coffee shop and just eavesdrop on people's stories, and he would hear these like intimate stories and like understand different like people, which would probably get added to his bank for building characters and understand perspective and that sort of thing. And I was like, oh, that's really neat too, because sometimes I do overhear kind of intimate things at a coffee shop, but you're like, wow, this is an insight into somebody's life that you might not get, and it's really interesting. And then sometimes I work in coffee shops and I get completely distracted and I don't end up doing any work at all.
I need to actually get work done.
So it's a balance, and that's where like headphones can come in and just kind of zone in on it. But yeah, working in that environment is, I hope we stay open.
at coffee shops.
Yeah, I hope we stay open at this level just for those, but also, whatever. It's just a blip. Just a blip in time. I think if we keep healthy habits and not, allow ourselves to spiral into the darkness, we'll make it through.
Yeah. There was, going back a bit to what we were saying about, in terms of the social dilemma, and I had a question I want to ask you about that, but when I was in South America, there's this guy who went to university in, I can't remember for the life of me, his name's Joe. And he was like our meet-a-wee, like he was a facilitator for the trip, right? He kind of led everything. And I remember he would always kind of push us to engage in conversation about technology and communication. And we were always like, okay, but it's a little off the focus of what we're here for, right? And so one night I was like, hey man, like you want to always talk about this, but what's going on? And my incentive was one day I saw the first video of his See Where Joe Goes, and he has these Snapchat glasses that he wears, and he goes everywhere in South America, and his whole focus with it is not being on your phone doing this, but still like living in the moment, but still capturing it from like a point of view perspective. So he would like click it and it records for 10 seconds, and he like pieces it together. It looks super cool. Anyways, yeah, and then anyways, what he kind of did with it is he was kind of instilled the use social media as a tool to connect further with people. I was like, I never quite grasped that until I started having the podcast, where it's now, I have like maybe 7 of all my guests' phone numbers, and it's like, I've met these people a couple times, but I've never asked them in person to do the show, or we've never really talked about it. But the more I like hear from them, or the more I'll follow them and see, okay, like this is really cool. This person's got a cool story. I want to hear all about it.
Yeah.
And then send the message, use it that way. I think that way is probably the most efficient way to use social media as like a tool to connect and get a message across. But there's so much information out there, and I like to think most of it's positive, but probably not. And as much as we try to push it, I'm not sure, especially nowadays. How do you stay positive in this social media era while still being like using the platforms?
Well, I think in that movie they talk about all the positivities of it.
Yeah.
And there are a ton
There's a
of
bunch.
positivities in it, even just down from people that I never thought I would see again in life.
Mhm.
Now I can get in touch with them and see their entire lives on social media. You know, it's like when you travel, you can like connect with somebody, maybe sleep on their couch.
That's
like
sick, yeah.
there's tons of positive benefits. Plus like all of the, you know, art and literature that we've been introduced to because of it. It's at the tips of our fingers. The phones are powerful and they're super positive. I think the negative side is and that's what that movie like really summed it up, was understanding that our attention is the hottest commodity out there.
Very.
And not giving it to them. You know, it's like use it for the positive tool that it is, but don't get sucked in, and don't forget to move, and don't forget to live your real life.
So easy to get sucked into.
And and don't get sucked into the comparison. And as like, you know, a 40-year-old woman who's built a solid foundation, that's way easier for me to say than somebody who has been brought up in this world. And, you know, especially if we've got insecurities about the way we look or act or our contributions in the world. You know, if you follow Gary Vee?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, like, I feel for some of the people that has questions for him.
Yeah.
Because they just want everything now. They want it now.
And
They want it fast. I'm 21 and I started this business, and why have I not blown up
He responds that way too, where he's like, you're so young.
It's not a sprint. It's a marathon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it's like, okay, maybe like the pros and cons list. Like, what are the positive things that I get from this, and what are the negative things that I get from this, and having some awareness and not leaning into the negative, just using it to the positive. And that they say it in the movie, but I was already practicing this, like turn off notifications, you know, like understand when you've been sucked in, when you're kind of doing something mindlessly, and stop doing that. You know, as an entrepreneur, like planning posts, like having a content plan, so that I'm not just like, oh, because you can get sucked in and be like, I'm working, I'm looking for content, I'm working, I'm trying to get inspired, and then you're like, are you are you just getting sucked in? Are you just consuming? So I think, having time limits and stuff like that is how I try to push it. I just don't take my phone with me. Talking about traveling, this is funny. When I was in Australia, we had Microsoft Spaces. So it was same with like MySpace. Do you remember? Have you heard of that?
I have heard of, but not for a minute.
It's like, so Spaces was like Microsoft's version. Which is essentially like your Facebook wall. It was the first of it. And I was updating so people could see what I was doing. But I had like maybe 20 people or something, you know, looking at my trip. But I noticed every time, this was like probably the first month, when I would go on these trips, I started taking pictures because I was going to share them on the space, right? And I was like, I am here at like the Great Barrier Reef, you know, like looking at all these amazing things, worrying about and looking at them through this little lens, and worrying about where I'm going to put them and what people are going to say later. So at that point, I put, and the woman that I was traveling with, she was like a shutterbox. She took pictures all the time.
Love it.
And, you know, I was like, I'm just going to steal her pictures, and I'm going to put my camera down. And from that day, from the first month, I did not take a single picture of my own.
Oh, wow.
And I had a bunch of pictures, and I've got memories stored in my brain. Like, it's fine. But I just committed to experiencing it,
living in the
taking
moment,
it in. Seeing it through my eyes, not my eyes, and then a screen, and then, because we had like the point and shoot cameras at that time.
I love point and shoot cameras.
Oh yeah, like cell phone. I got a cell phone when I was over there, but it was just like an old flip phone or whatever. So yeah, that was a big eye opener. And I remember I felt like I was proud of myself for seeing that, recognizing it so early
cool
in.
Awareness thing,
And then so I was very present when I was traveling in Australia, and I met tons of people. I remember, like, because you said that Me to We, was that like a...
Yes, that was the organization we did the 2-week service trip with.
Yeah, so I never did any of those. I probably spent more money in the long run, but I remember the first few times we were, like, hanging out and there was a bunch of people hanging out, and we were keeping like, you know, this experience going further, and a bunch of people would be like, oh no, we got to get up for our bus tomorrow because then we're going here and here. And you know, so it's kind of like I appreciated the organic, you know, meetings and being able to kind of let the journey happen than booking into those trips. So I didn't, but like I said, I probably spent way more money in the end because those trips are sometimes condensed and you see awesome things, but we just kind of let the universe take us on all these wacky wild trips, meeting these people. And you know, I remember, I realized this a few months in, but like you wake up in the morning, and I'm sure you know this when you're traveling, and you never know like what's gonna happen.
It's the best.
You can't like, and you're
it's
just like, best. This is where I ended up. Like how? Because you can't even really visualize it. Yeah. How did I get here? I remember one day we were hanging out at this apartment overlooking the ocean with all these like, they were surf instructors and the like lifeguards from the beach that we met, and we're like having, I think it was Thanksgiving, and we were like having dinner with them and like drinking with them and hanging out, and me and Jill were just like, how did we end up here? You know, always staying safe, staying together, all those safety precautions in it. But there was 2 times on the trip where we questioned our safety. Like, well, 2 times so the first, when we landed in Australia, we had booked 2 days at a hostel in Sydney. It was called the Funk House. And so they were supposed to have a shuttle come and pick us up at the airport. And so we were sitting there waiting. There was a bunch of confusion. We didn't have a cell phone. We were on like pay phones, like trying to figure it out. And this man came up to us with a clipboard. He didn't, like, English wasn't his first language, so he was speaking through a walkie-talkie in a different language. And he came up to us, and he was like, are you going to, and he said this other hostel name. And we're like, no. I didn't have as much self-defense skills then. And I was like, we're going to the Funk House. And he's like, oh yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. And I was like, like I just gave him the key, you know. It's like, he's like, come with me.
Oh no.
So me and Jill are just looking at each other like, oh god, okay. So we followed him out to the parking lot, got in this white van, and we're like, did we just mess up? Like, is this like no one will see us again? You know, like, is this like that moment that we made? Yeah. So then we're just sitting there like, are we like, you know, actively walking into a kidnap situation?
We become very famous for the wrong reasons, right?
Yeah, 2 dumb Canadian girls land in Sydney, gone within 10 minutes.
Early 20s gone.
Gone within. So this is all, we're like freaking out, and then he dropped us off at the hostel. I was like, holy shit, okay, yes.
That's awesome, wow.
The second time we were in this place called Bundaberg.
Yeah.
And they were famous for this rum that they made because they had a bunch of sugar canes there.
Oh, that's awesome.
But anyway, they also had a lot of loggerhead turtles would go there, lay their hatchlings, and then the hatchlings would come up. Yeah, okay, so it was like a very big, like you could go with like organized groups, or sometimes people talked about seeing these turtles on their own. So we were walking along the road, and then there was all this like brush, and then there was the ocean. And so we're walking, it's late at night, we were just like left the resort we were staying on, went there, and this guy comes running through the bush, and he's like, there's turtles, they're laying eggs, like come, and we're just like, whoa, like, no, I don't think so. And then he's like, no, seriously, come on, leading us in, and we're like, again, like, like, are we gonna get like murdered? Is this it? But we don't want to miss this, like, you know, nature's, you know, experience. So reluctantly we went, and we're like, are we walking into doom? And then there was turtles there, just like, oh my god, thank God. So, you know,
funny now.
But it's like, but I think there's some, like, you know, being awareness and instincts, and we did kind of trust both situations, but at the same time, we're like, oh my god, is this like the wrong decision to make? Yeah. But thankfully, both turned. We're still alive.
Thankfully.
Still alive, yeah. Come down to the beach unmanned and, like, you know, it's unarmed. Like, okay, unarmed. Yeah. At least there was 2 of us. So yeah. we survived that year.
Thank goodness. I find when it comes to because I like to think my motto, and I heard this guy Casey Neistat, he does like really cool, and like this is what I aspire to do with my travel films. Like this is I love his style of story, and I'm starting to build the skills to be able to tell it that like in a similar way through like the style that he's used, where he said it once where he's like, and we traveled to this place and we had nothing planned, because when nothing is planned, anything can happen. And I was like,
that's it.
Like, my guy.
That is it.
That's it.
Anything can happen.
Anything, and it's the best. Like preparation, I'm all for it when it comes to like this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But with traveling, you have to like hands off the rein, like let somebody else take the reins and just enjoy the process of it.
I've been on a few trips with like, I guess they call them type A, or people who want to plan everything down to the moment. And I believe in putting some structures in place.
Absolutely.
Like you want to have a place to put your head, you want to have a place to store your stuff. But yeah, it's like when there's the unknown, it's like anything can happen. You can say yes to anything as well.
Right.
It's that ability to say yes. I was in Costa Rica, was that last year? Yeah, and we got to Nosara, which is a big surf town, and I wanted to surf and didn't know how long we were going to stay there. We just booked 3 days, and I posted on Instagram, just like a video at the beach or whatever, and tagged Nosara in it.
Genius.
And a surf instructor, and I thought this was so smart marketing, messaged me, and he's like, want to go surfing? And I was like, yeah, like I don't know if he was hunting the hashtags or whatever, but yeah, I was like, yes, thank you. And so yeah, showed up the next day, went surfing with him, did like a bunch of days, like one-on-one lessons with him, and then he took us to different beaches or whatever, and we ended up staying probably about 6 days there rather than the original 3. And he was a pro surfer, and just like got this high quality instruction, and got to travel all these beaches that a local takes you to. And I was just like, oh, that was sweet. Where if I would have had everything in place, I wouldn't have been able to say yes. And then
that's so cool. Yeah.
And I really, like it's maybe the yogi in me, but like when you put intentions out there in the universe, and then you just trust and let happen. Things happen in your path. It was the same thing when I was like, I got home from Australia and I was like, I want to be in the fitness industry. And then, a month later, I meet this guy who's starting this fitness business. And then all of a sudden, this opportunity presented itself. It's just like sometimes, so back to the question about like looking for your passion, it's just like, maybe if you just understand and put out in the universe that you have passion and you want an outlet, opportunities will present themselves with a bit of trust and opened eyes.
That's the biggest one.
It sound people like, they want concrete, answers and stuff, but
it doesn't work like that.
Like law of attraction is something that I really subscribe to, and I've got this one woman that I listen to. Her name's Abraham Hicks, and she just rocks my world. It's like if I'm in like a down or like getting into that small mentality or anxious mentality, I'll put one of her, podcasts on, and she just like snaps me out of it. And it's like, your mission is to feel good now. Like, just feel good right now. Get into a place of feeling good now. She calls it your high flying disc.
Nice.
Get on your high flying disc and build that momentum. And that is where your focus is. And that momentum builds. And then you attract certain things that are attracted to that momentum, not that anxious, negative, mentality. Because if we focus on that anxiousness and negativity, that's what you're building momentum towards. Yeah. So it's like, if I focus on my lack of passion, my lack of outlet, all of those negative things, what is the universe going to present to me?
Right.
More negativity, more lack of passion. Yeah. If I just have momentum facing a different, focus, what's the universe going to show me? The momentum, the focus, the positivity. And even if I'm wrong and I sound like a complete crazy person, I don't care, because I'm on my high flying disc. And it's like if like the
awesome.
skeptical people want to be like, Jen, she's like way up in the clouds. It's like, oh, God, I'd rather just feel good now than doubt everything. It feels better.
Mm-hmm.
It feels better day to day, and that's what we're living day to day.
Right. Yeah, we're not living 8 years from now or 2 years ago.
No. I talk to younger people sometimes, and they're like, just have so many expectations of themselves and what they should have achieved by now, and like, I just like, oh God. I saw this one TED Talk, and it was like, your 20s is to build social capital, is to try things, is to experiment, is to figure stuff out, what you like, what you don't like, make mistakes, make as many as possible.
Because you're young, you're able to do that. You don't have like the crazy commitments.
No, unless you start to put those crazy commitments. Like, I see younger people having babies and getting married, and I'm just like, oh God.
It's like, you're 24 years old.
Yeah, do that later. Keep your body healthy so that you can. That's
definitely something that's on the back burner for me. I'm like, down the road.
Yeah, I had my daughter when I was 32, and I think it was a really good timing for me. And now that I co-parent, I get the best of both worlds. I mean, co-parenting is so awesome. I mean, the nuclear together family is awesome too. But co-parenting is like, I get her half the time. So half the time I'm full on mommy mode. Yeah. The other half the time I'm back to me. Like, that's I don't have her right now, and I have like freedom. And it's when I used to get like a babysitter for her, and like Steve and I would go out. Your mind is always at home on your child, but now that she's with her dad, her loving, responsible dad, I can really shut it off. That's awesome, It's like, and I think co-parenting is becoming more of a concept, like two people, mature people getting together, having a baby, and living separate lives.
That's what you said, though. You said mature people. That's huge.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know some friends of mine who, they might watch or listen to this and go, dude, and I'm like, well, I know two unmature people who could not pull that off.
No. Be selective with the person that you're going to attach yourself to life with. That's like, I made a really great decision with the father of my child, and that has made my life so much easier. Oh my God. That's awesome. And that's maturity, though, right?
That is, yeah.
I was 32. I had life experience in the tool shed, It's like I could make those decisions, and I also wasn't making the decision to fill a void, right?
Smart.
I think
a lot of people do
sometimes when we lack passion, we put that passion into like parenting,
people and someone else or something else.
Exactly. And they're not always going to be there.
Right.
So it's like, 20, that TED Talk, she was like, 20s is to build that social capital, and then 30s is where you start to put things into place,
Right.
and then, just let your career kind of grow from there. And I was like, I see so many people putting so much pressure on themselves, especially in high school. High school is such a little blip. I remember when I was in high school, I thought it was the world. I thought it was everything and everything. And now, even a couple years out of high school, I looked back and I was like, that was just such a little blip in the grand scheme of things. And it feels like everything at the time. It feels like things aren't going to change, or it feels like you're always going to be this way. And God, that's not true. No. It's not true. That's why when I went to Ottawa, I could like be a different person. Yeah. When you travel, you could be somebody else.
It's amazing, and it's almost and I grew up in like working at summer camps, and then just being this outrageous theater character, and like doing everything to make the children and the people around me happy, and then you emit the best version of yourself when you're traveling as well, I found. And then it starts to get where there's not, where's Travel Glen versus in Sudbury Glen. It's like, now it's just the same dude.
Yeah.
It's the same person. Like, the mind's open, you're intrigued in what other people have to say, you're willing to listen and not just go back and forth small talk. Like, small talk doesn't do it for me anymore. I can't.
Yeah, no.
It drives me nuts.
And who we are changes minutes. Like, you and I are different after this conversation.
Absolutely.
Our eyes have been opened to a new, like, and that's the thing about travel is, like, when you're in your hometown and you worry so much about what everyone's going to think, say, who you are, your reputation.
Exactly.
you might not do things because it might reflect on that. But, you know, when you're out of town, you can screw up and just be like, peace. I'm going to go try this again.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
like, oh,
it's the best.
That didn't work, or that worked really well. I'm going to, like, replicate that the next time, you know? And it's kind of like, and if we can somehow get that mentality on trying, messing up, taking that, like, jiu-jitsu competition helped that big time. Oh my God, that was such humble. Have you competed?
Oh yeah, a bunch of times. Yeah, a bunch of times.
It's like the most humbling. Like, wins feel amazing.
They're the best feeling. I've also got my ass kicked in front of a lot of people.
Losses are way more like character building.
100%. You either win or you build your character.
Yeah, you either win or you learn. Is like what the Gracies used to like preach or whatever. But it's like, I've learned so much from my losses, and then you take a loss, you go back to the gym, you know, you got to talk about it. It's like some of the most humbling stuff, you know, that I've ever experienced. And it's like, but messing up on the mat, on the competition mat, it's like you learn so much, and then you go back to the lab and you like figure it out, and you make sure that you don't mess up like that again, and then you go back out and you test it again, and it's like such a great metaphor for life. Like, the lessons that I learned, the 10 years in jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and competing, it just translates everywhere. It just gave such, and you're experiencing it now with jiu-jitsu. It's like, it gives you such a great foundation.
It's the best,
It's so good.
It's like you said, though. I'm also like, hey, you're a friend of mine. Yeah, try this. Yeah, come on, lads, come on. Like,
you want to
I'm
bring
your friend.
everybody with you.
I'm your friend. You'll be like, everyone will love you. It's all good. You'll be fine.
But instead, like, and that's what, when I first started jiu-jitsu, when I first started getting into nutrition, I was just like loud and proud, and I wanted to take everybody with me. But like, I say this when we, because like, I have a wellness program that I work with a nutritionist with, and it's like, when you start to learn these skills, you want to bring everyone with you, and you want to outward focus, right? But I think outward focus is a distraction from within, right? Why are you focusing on all your friends coming to jiu-jitsu? Instead, focus on your own jiu-jitsu. And then it's like leading with your presence. They're going to be like, Glenn walks different and talks different. What is he doing?
What is his confidence?
Yeah, what's this? Oh, he does jiu-jitsu. And then they might be like, Glenn, can I come with you? And those are people that will actually come. I remember when I first started with Steve, people are talkers. Oh my God, I'm sure you see it with jiu-jitsu. People are talkers. So we'd go to like the townhouse or go out when we used to be able to go out, and I would tell somebody what I was up to, and they would just like talk my ear off and just be like, I'm gonna come Monday. Oh, Monday I'm gonna come. And I'm like, yes, okay, a new client.
You get all excited.
I go to Steve and I'd be like, this guy said he was gonna come, and like, I got us a new client. And he was like, okay, we'll see. And I'm like, oh, you're so skeptical. Oh my God, you're so negative. And just be like so bitching at him. Just be like, and then Monday this dude did not show up.
Told you.
Never showed up. Yeah. And so then.
That's incredible.
I stopped letting people corner me at parties.
That's funny.
I said, let's see you on Monday.
Yeah.
I remember Steve a few times was like, if you come on Monday, I'll buy you a case of beer. Like, there'll be a case of beer there on Monday if you come. And people don't come.
No. I had there's this whole, to wrap up like that women empowerment, and then bringing like the friends to jiu-jitsu, and the Australia, like one of my best friends, he trained, like he works at Tugo, so he knows another buddy of mine who also trains here, and then Lucas, shouts him, and then he was like, he was telling both of us, and he got credit from both of us, because he was everyone, I guess they knew at their work was always saying like, yeah, I'll go train with you, whatever. Only my buddy Reese showed up. And he told me after, because we drove there, and I guess like we had to walk back because it was winter and there was no spots, right? We came late. Anyways, sorry. And we showed up, and we walk in, whatever, and it's packed house when we were on Lawrence Street, and like it's packed house. Come up, he got choked out by this like 3-stripe white belt woman who trains at our gym, and like she's a workhorse, like she's really good, she's an animal, like she's just good. Like it's not like, oh, she's just good. And then when we leave, we go back, and I think we were doing like, I don't know what the drill was, and then it was somewhere. It's like, I think it was okay, you have to start on your back or on the person's back, 2 hooks in. They have like a seatbelt grip, or they have a seatbelt grip or double unders, whatever they kind of decide, and then go. You guys are ready. And then I guess my buddy got like choked out by her. Like he just like refused. And then we're walking back, and I'm like, dude, how was that? And he's like, I've never felt more humbled in my life. I was like, what happened? Like I'm still doing my thing, right? I'm not really focused on yours. I knew we'd talk about it after. And he's like, I got choked out by a girl. I was like, choked out, or like and he's like, no. Like I didn't tap, and it was tight. And I went out, and I was like, how do you feel? And he's like, I'm like, just so you know, it's not choked. Like, I'm like, I've gotten tapped out a bunch of times by women, a bunch of times by men. Yeah. I was like, it got rid of the stigma, didn't? He's like, I'm very humbled now. I'm like, and that's just day one.
Yeah.
I was like, she's gonna do that next day, and then the next day, and then for years to come.
Well, also,
like, it's crazy.
It's so funny that I got choked out by a girl. It's like, yeah, and I don't know this girl, I don't know her skills, but she also got put in such a great position. She was on your back. You know, it's like keeping these things into perspective, but all that guy was just like, oh,
he didn't think about that at all. He was just like, I got choked out by a girl. And I was it's like, dude, she was in the best position she could be in.
Can I tell you a fun dating story?
100%. Always.
So this reminds me of like humbling a guy. But so when I was first single, I started like dating. I hadn't dated at all. I was like, did the relationship jump. I was in relationships since I was 21. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I went on a date with a younger man in his 20s. And I was like, I can try this out, whatever. And he was kind of a bit like douchey. The world had not humbled him yet. It was fine. I was just out for a drink and took it very lightly. And found out what I had done, or I talked about what I'd done for a living, and he was like adamant that he could beat me up. Guys always want to talk about how they can beat me up, and I'm just like, okay, cool. And my line is always like, he's like, maybe I can't beat you up, but you can't beat me up. Like, that's what I say, like, because I'm not going around beating guys up or bragging that I can beat guys up, but you can't beat me up.
Just to be clear, you can't do that.
Yeah,
not saying I'm going to beat you up. Just, you won't be
able to beat me up.
To me.
So
That's
anyway,
awesome.
he was like adamant that he could beat me up. In fact, and I was like, let's finish the drink and that's it. And then he's like, he just wouldn't shut up, and I was like, we were down. What is it now? The Alibi Room, and my studio was down at the end of Durham. So I was like, well, my studio's just down the street. I'm like, why don't we go down to the studio? He's like, okay, sure. So we went to the studio, and I said, okay, let's go. Let's grapple.
I love it.
So we started standing up, and I think it was 30 to 45 seconds. I got his back and choked him out. Yeah. Rear naked choke. And he was just like, then he got up and making all these excuses, and then I'm just like, please get out of my studio.
Like, all right, get out of my studio, and if you don't bring me out, I'll drag you out myself. It's so funny.
So funny. It was so sweet.
Like 30 seconds, less than a minute, take the back. Boom.
That's it. It's so
a wrap.
easy when people are not trained. It's so easy.
They have no idea.
And he was around my size, and I'm really fit. I'm visibly fit, you know. But he still believed just guy, girl, and I'm just like, okay. And he said it so many times. Normally I can let it slide. Normally I can keep it cool. I was just like, let's go.
Yeah, the 27th time.
Let's go. Yeah.
Beat you up was a little much.
So arrogant. He's the world hadn't humbled him, and I'm hoping that I humbled him.
Well, I'm
we'll
sure.
See.
Hopefully it's not now. He just needs to pick a fight with every woman he sees now. Hopefully. Fingers crossed that's not the case.
That was fun.
But, I bet. I've had a couple friends come in and try it out, and it's not. And I know it's a different thing when they don't know, and then they see you and they see you talk about. Like you said, they see you differently after, and I'm just more easygoing when it comes to confrontational things, or like I can avoid those
because you get your aggression out on the mat.
Yeah, and I get put in my place.
Yeah,
when I'm like, I think I'm top shit, and then I roll with like people who are a lot smaller than me, or like people who have been doing it less time sometimes even, and it's like, ooh, all right, I gotta pump the brakes.
What's also like testosterone and hormones and rage and anger and anything
Yeah.
that's inside, if that doesn't have an outlet, especially for men, for women
especially
too,
yeah.
but if men don't have an outlet, it comes out in all sorts of really gross ways.
It's bad.
And we had guys, street fighters, come in and talk about their street fights all the time, and then they hit the mat and they train consistently, and their wives, their girlfriends would be like, he's a different person at home. Like,
That's
he's
wild.
just like relaxed. It's like,
chilled out.
get rid of that energy here. And you guys train, like we
Yeah.
used to train like similar to the way you guys train here, like more competition style, like
Yeah.
hard rolling.
That's it.
Then when I had my daughter, we switched to the Gracie Academy. It was very much self-defense focused.
Right.
It was a bit more chill. But like I was brought up on the hard training.
Nice.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's
You know,
fun,
yeah,
it's sweaty. It's
fun,
like
it builds you up.
it's well. I remember when I got my blue belt. I actually didn't get it at this seminar, but I got put through the paces. So the way we used to get tested for our blue belt, it was just a 2-hour hell session where they would just like try and make us quit.
Yeah.
And if you quit, you automatically did not get it. And like going through those kinds of things, it was just like it was such an outlet, such a great outlet for all of that energy. And I love that style of training. It's
Yeah,
fun.
it's
Like,
a lot of fun.
You call it passionate, and I can be a bit intense. It was like people are
Yeah.
driven to that. People like me, people like you are driven to that sort of
100%.
stuff.
Yeah.
And then you can breathe easy afterwards.
It's easy going. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll never regret going to jiu-jitsu ever.
No.
I
And
have not yet, and I won't.
The thing about jiu-jitsu, and it's also similar to yoga, you have to really suck for a while.
Oh yeah.
And you gotta be okay
Oh, yeah.
with sucking. And, you know, I see, like, athletes come
Yeah.
in, like somebody who'd played hockey since they were a kid.
Mhm.
They'd go, they'd suck, and they couldn't handle the suck, right? Your ego sometimes can't handle
Especially
it.
when you're that good coming from something else, you think it'll translate.
Yes, and it doesn't.
No.
And it's if you can't suck for a while, then you're not gonna make it.
Yeah, I'll
But
power
if
through
you
it.
can, like, look at yourself, look at your ego,
Mhm.
and be okay with sucking, oh God, it's just like, you know, the fruits of your labor is just like huge.
Yeah.
It's like, embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck.
And it's like with
Yeah.
jujitsu, it's like when you suck, you're in the worst position, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's on top of you. It's
Heavy,
hot.
yeah, you feel like
the
blood or
geese,
sweat on them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Coming off
you know,
your face.
yeah. I've
your
had
mouth
guys
and
like
stuff.
drip
It's gross.
sweat into your mouth.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Gross.
It's the worst. It happens like weekly.
But it makes you like that plus travel, and then travel with jujitsu.
Oh, it's a lot
God,
of
I'm
fun.
just like I embrace my savagery now.
Yeah,
Like it's
you
just
have
like
to.
oh yeah, it's like it just prepares you for so
Yeah,
much and become
it does.
less of a princess for sure. Sleeping on mats in academies, you know, sleeping in the car, driving overnight just to
Yeah.
get to a seminar. From what like when I was in it, there was no competing in Canada, let alone
Oh, yeah,
Ontario.
that's
So we had to go to
right.
the States for everything.
Yeah.
And we would drive down to New York for a seminar, to train at a school. Like, it was just, we were traveling everywhere.
Mhm.
And you just did it filled with the passion for it,
Yeah,
right? It's like
that's
passion
it.
is such a good fuel. Oh, it's fun times.
Yeah.
Fun times for sure. COVID's kind of getting in the way of some of those times for
Yeah.
people. But at least you guys still training here?
Yeah, sort of. Like, there's a lot of stuff we've kind of done to manage it. Way less people on the mats. You like stick with the same person for like weeks. So it's like it's good, not great, right? It's good because
Yeah.
the door's open. It's not great because I can't roll 10 rounds every night after an hour and a half class. Like, I can't
Yeah.
do that. It sucks that I can't, but I mean, it's what we make of it, and it seems to be. It's still fun, and I know if I still want rounds, I can always like. I have a couple buddies of mine that I train with here that I know have mats at their house and space on the ground. So
That's nice.
yeah,
You know what got me really good, like on or just not even caring about the camera, was Instagram stories.
yeah,
Like the way I'm sure you've watched
Yes.
some of my stories.
Yeah,
so
a
like
few so far.
talking into the stories.
Yeah.
At first, I was so awkward, but it's like when you watch and analyze yourself
Yeah.
and then correct. And I was doing it at first just for exposure, but then I would do interviews like with like CTV or
Yeah.
like I was on CBC or whatever, and I'd leave and I'd be like, holy that went really well, you know, it just like flowed or whatever. And I was like, I credit it a lot to those Instagram stories.
Nice.
Plus I've just done so much public speaking and teaching.
At this point it's
whatever.
You used to it, yeah. Just like another person in the room even.
Yeah.
I found I vlogged all throughout Europe. Like right after I graduated college, when I went for about 6 weeks, all throughout like Western and Central Europe. I vlogged everything with my bike. Like I'd be in like I have videos of me vlogging inside the Monte Carlo casino with a Tilly hat, a graphic red T-shirt, and like board shorts and running shoes, and my like mech bag on my back, and like gross beard because it's been 5 weeks of no shaving or even trimming, so it's just bad. And everyone's in like 5-star ties, there's like security guards in the background walking these people into the casino from their Rolls Royce, and I'm like,
oh my god.
I'm like, this is it. I'm like, what's up, guys? We're here.
Yeah.
And I was like, So that right after doing that trip, I was like, all right, if I want to do a podcast, let's do a video as well. Just a different form of connection to myself and you through that. Like whoever watches, they can not just listen, they see like the reactions on my face when you're telling a story and yours when like I'm asking questions, and kind of like they can see a bit more and they get more out of it, I think. Mm-hmm. So I think video is like, I love video. I think it's a genius idea.
I think video is that's cool that you like, put yourself in those situations. Because I mean, once you do that and you survive, then you can do anything, right? Sometimes we build things up to our head, like, oh, I'm not wearing the proper clothes, or I can't do this. Everyone's going to be looking at me. Yeah. And you do it anyway.
I put myself in the worst possible... Yeah, but it also goes to what you said earlier about, excuse me, not planning anything. And it kind of forced us to look for the coolest experiences, because I was like, if I'm going to film it, I'm going to tell a story. I don't want to tell a lame story. I want to tell a bestseller, right? So it's like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this. Oh, we're going to do that. Oh, we get to this place. It's fenced off. Over the fence we go. Boom, we go to this. Oh, there's this dog we saw in Serbia. Let's take it for a day and see where we can feed it and take care of it, and then bring...
You're living your 20s right.
That's it. That's the way you got to do it.
Building all that social capital.
You have to. It's a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I love the word social, like the term social capital. I think it's like overlooked. I think it's super important. Like in this area.
Totally. It's just about doing stuff and messing up and then trying it again a different way.
Exactly.
That's cool.
That's it. So Jen, I appreciate your time. However, is there one like message or one thing or one story you want to say that kind of like wraps it up for you for today? Any plugs or anything?
Oh, plugs. Yeah.
I know all the links will be in the description and stuff.
Oh, yeah, you'll plug me. Yeah, if you want to train with me, you know, I train in my home studio. I like to help people feel strong in their bodies. That's it. And I love when someone comes in with a bunch of things that they can't do, and then I prove to them that they can.
That's awesome.
And then the looks on their faces when they are able to perform something that they never thought they can. Yeah. It's like so many of our limitations are up in our mind, and it's just like with the proper support, it's like we know what we can do. So yeah, put my links if anyone wants to get in touch with me, and live in the moment.
Live in the moment. That's it. Awesome.